If you look at the comments of many delegates, of observers, of NGOs, of people in industry, the conventional wisdom seems to be prospects are not bright for a full, fair, ambitious, and binding deal at COP16 in Cancun. There are a number of reasons for this. First of all, there are very sharp divisions on the so-called legal form issue, whether we should have one treaty, two treaties, a pledge and review system, or some other permutation. Second, there's not a shared vision on the issue of shared vision. What are we doing to reduce temperature increases below 2 degrees, and what's the equitable allocation of the emission reduction and limitation commitments needed to meet that objective? The continued failure of my country, the United States, to complete action on its domestic climate policy, which hamstrings the ability of the administration here to commit to something going forward. And uncertainty about, as Ramon was talking about, the ability of the developed countries to meet the substantial long-term climate finance commitments that are needed as part of any fair, ambitious, and binding deal. Now, I still maintain hope. I mean, I guess I believe in miracles. I think we could see a full deal in Cancun, but I would agree with most observers that it doesn't look likely. It doesn't look like it's in the cards. And some have said that as a result of that, Cancun is doomed to fail because nothing can be agreed until everything's agreed. We reject that line of argument and suggest instead that we should be saying nothing is agreed until enough is agreed. And enough means there has to be something in a package of decisions in Cancun for everybody. Now, if you look at the outcome of Copenhagen and the state of play now, it's definitely conceivable that an ambitious package of decisions on issues like adaptation, reducing emissions from deforestation, technology mechanisms, financial institutions and governance, and measurement, reporting, and verification, both of developed country actions on technology and finance and of developing country actions, developed country commitments on finance and technology and developing country actions, could be achieved in Cancun. This package, if we were to achieve it, would represent meaningful progress forwards towards the full, ambitious, and binding deal that we ultimately need, and would put us well on the way to such a deal being achievable by COP17 in South Africa. I should say that all of these issues are at play here in Bonn, and Kajsa will talk in a minute about what we need to see happen out of this meeting to put us on a path to a package of good decisions in Cancun. And many of these issues we were close to agreement in the final hours in Copenhagen, but they got lost in the backwash of the acrimony and the procedural mishmash over the Copenhagen Accord. So these are by no means out of play. They could be achieved. But there's two other elements that we need to achieve a successful outcome in Cancun. As Ramon said, we need tangible momentum on the provision of dedicated, new, and additional long-term climate finance of sufficient magnitude to help developing countries take actions on adaptation, reducing emissions from deforestation, and clean technology deployment. And secondly, we need agreement on the negotiating mandate or mandates forward from Cancun to South Africa. Will we continue to work under the current two negotiating tracks or combine the work on a post-2012 climate regime under a single track? There are deep divisions on this issue among parties. And it's not clear what the way forward is, but we have to find a way forward. This last issue is not formally on the agenda here in Bonn, but it's the subject of a lot of informal discussions and consultations behind the scenes. I think the divisions on this issue are well understood. We've seen them in Copenhagen and since Copenhagen. We have to bridge these divisions in Cancun because otherwise the inability to agree on the way forward from Cancun could jeopardize our ability to reach decisions on the important building blocks I discussed earlier, even if there is full consensus on the substance of those building block decisions. And finally, I'd just say that the objective from the Climate Action Network's point of view of a deal in Cancun or of the post-Cancun negotiations, if that turns out to be the reality that we face, must be to reach a legally binding outcome by South Africa at the latest. This agreement must address the current gap between the below 2 degree Celsius temperature increase that was supported by most of the world's leaders in Copenhagen and the much higher temperature increases the world is almost certain to see given the level of ambition of national emission reduction pledges and actions on the table to date. Thank you.